Greetings from the video. Today is another requested climb. I'm at the bottom of Moh Cop, which is basically called the Killer Mile because it is a mile, it's about 1.5k. It averages 11.5%, I think, and it gets up to 25%. I've heard so many tales of people falling off. There's loads of pictures online of people coming off because it's just so steep. And I'm a little bit scared because I've never done it before. So I don't really know what to expect other than the tales of people falling off because of its steepness. But I'm willing to give it a go for your pure viewing pleasure. So I reckon let's go.
So let's go up Moh Cop. That is the actual start of the segment of the train crossing. So all I know is it's going to get very, very, very steep. So I don't want to go out too hard. And as you can see on the bottom right, the gradient is pretty steady. So I'm just going to keep it steady. Although I'm just pushing 400 watts, but then I'm like, Katie, calm down. So let's have a look at the stats. We've got bottom right, gradient, bottom left. We've got my watts. Above that, you're going to be very happy to know, I've got my heart rate monitor on. Above that, we've got the actual course, so you can actually see the segment. Speed above that, and then my cadence at the very top. So a lot of you are asking for heart rate to see how hard I'm working, and out of all the hill climb videos like this I've done, this was the one that I felt like I'd not necessarily pushed the most watts, but felt the hardest, just because of the sheer steepness of it. You're going to see it in a minute, but it was and is very steep. Let me know if you've done Moh Cop. I honestly had never done it before, didn't have a clue, but all I know is a lot of people fall off on it. And there is actually a sportive, I think it's called the Cheshire something that goes around here. And I was chatting to one of the guys that lived on the hill after I'd done this, and he was saying that so many people, they go out and watch it and so many people fall off. So yeah, one little tip that you can do is kind of zigzag, so it kind of lessens the gradient a little bit. But you just got to be careful if there's cars coming. So that's always my go-to, and you'll see me do it, is zigzagging a little bit. But how pretty is this climb? It's very sheltered, this section of it is anyway, but I just think it's just so pretty. So yeah, we're getting up to 14-15% already. This was the first kind of steep little bit of it. I think it goes up in, there's two sections. There's one that's the first steep bit, and then the second steep bit is where the pub used to be. There isn't a pub there now. So yeah, I am pushing. I look quite awkward there, so I'm just yeah, I do think getting out of the saddle on the steep climbs is, I mean, you probably already do that, but for me it took quite a long time to feel confident to get out of the saddle on steep climbs, just because it was always the fear that what if it's too steep and I need to unclip. It's like an extra step, so if you sat down, you can easily unclip, whereas if you stood up, you've got to then sit down and then unclip. So yeah, I was always pretty scared of steep climbs, so I just thought I would share that. So I'm just blowing my nose there and just wiping it on my leg. So always keeping it classy. I think that when you're pushing like this, look at that. I think that's 10%, but it was more. It's 12% there. What's I saying? Yeah, you just got to do what you got to do on these climbs. Also, very quickly talk about heart rate. I know so many people wanted to see my heart rate. I don't actually have it. Oh, did I have it on the screen? I don't ever look at it, and the reason that I don't look at it on a climb like this is because I think mentally it can put you off. So if I'd have seen my heart rate, 'cause it goes up higher than I've ever seen it, and if I'd have seen that, that would have held me back a bit. Whereas if I'm just looking at watts, then I know what I can push, and I feel like I don't know, I just feel like for me looking at heart rate isn't a good indicator. I think it just puts me off more. But I know you wanted to see it, so you're welcome. And let me know what you think. Do you train with heart rate? Do you train with power? I'd be interested to know, and if which works for you. But for me, I know that I just prefer having power data on there. My cadence, as you'll see, it's probably between, at this section anyway, I try and keep it around 90. My actual average for it was, I don't actually know. I think it was about 80. You can have a look on my Strava if you really want to have a look. But yeah, have a quick look on there. I'll always try and keep my cadence as high as I can, just to prevent me feel like I'm grinding or... And at this point, all I'm doing is, I'm not necessarily, I do have a quick look at my watts just to make sure that I'm not going way too hard or way too low. So I'm just trying to keep it probably around 300 because I'm guessing that the time that I'm going to do, because I've never done it, this is what I always do. If you go on to Strava and you go onto like leaderboard and people that you're following on that segment, I kind of get a rough estimate of people that I know who I've ridden with, who I'm kind of similar to, so I can get a rough estimate of what my time's going to be up at. That's how I try and get an aim. So for example, for this, I thought it was going to take me about 8, 9, 10 minutes. And so that I know from like obviously the last video, the Home Moss one, that I can hold like just over 300 watts for 10 minutes. So I was just trying to aim for something like that. But on some of the steeper stuff like this, sometimes you just got to push it because otherwise you're not going to physically get up the hill. So it's quite a narrow road though. So it's not great if you've got cars, but to be fair, there were cars parked on the right hand side, and a car was coming down and actually pulled in. They saw me climbing up and just waited for me. They were so nice. I think they probably could see the pain on my face and like, we'll give this girl a minute because she's pushing hard to get up there. I've actually got in a minute the audio from this. You can actually hear my friend's rear wheel like rubbing a little bit. I don't even know what it was rubbing on, but you could hear it. And but I thought you might want to hear the pain because I think sometimes on these it probably just looks like I'm not really pushing that hard. But when you'll see my heart rate go up on the very steep section, you'll see the pain that I'm in. I think the house is actually coming up in a second. It did used to be a pub, but it's not been a pub for I think it's 3 or 4 years. Right, so this is where it gets steep. So you'll see the signpost in a minute there on the right. That's the 25% marker. So this is where it kicks up. All I can see is a wall in front of me. Like, I can't do any less watts than that. I'm just like, I'm having to zigzag because I'm like, this is steep. You can hear how hard I'm pushing. I actually did this again a few times to get some pictures and I got out of the saddle and it just made it so much easier. I should have just been out of the saddle at this point. I don't know why I'm still sat down. I think it is that fear again of the unknown and thinking that I might have to clip out. But I did it again. I've just got way more used to getting out of the saddle on the steeper stuff now, so I wouldn't necessarily sit down again when doing something that steep. It just means that because your wheel just pops up. If all your weight's at the back, your wheel just pops up at the front. So it's just about maintaining your balance. So when I get out of the saddle, I kind of push my weight a little bit further forward so it's not lifting the front wheel up. So we're getting kind of towards the end, so I'll quickly run through my stats. It was 1.5 kilometres long, the average is 11.7%, the maximum gradient was 24.7%, and my official, like the official 100 climbs segment, I got 8.27 minutes. Why did I say that? 8 minutes 27, an average of 302 watts, max heart rate 186, and my average heart rate is 176.
That was harder than the others. That is so steep, my front wheel was popping. Oh, that is a killer mile, isn't it? That is pretty brutal. That was pretty good though, wasn't it? I did quite like that. Right, now to get some pictures. That was insane. I can't even tell you how much I liked that. I think it was hard, but I think that's why I liked it, because it's not something that I've done before. I'm not used to that, used to the climb. So I think I did it in think it was like 8 something. But I just want to come back and just ride it. I've actually ridden it probably, not all of it, that little steep bit behind me, like 4 or 5 times, trying to get a bit of footage and a little bit of like a couple of photographs and stuff. But honestly, love that climb. It is, honestly, it's brutal, but I think I'm a bit of a sadist. I like the pain of the climbs. This is what you get for doing 4 or 5 laps up Moe Cop. I think it's my new look. What do you think? God, I think I'm high on endorphins. I just need to go back and get some tea now. Right, bye.